Welcome to Big Fight Recap, guys. George Jakovic with the champs, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri. Well, Devin Haney was brilliant, dominant, flawless, 12-round shutout over Regis Prograis. Paulie, he kicked down the door at 140. I mean, there wasn't much that he did wrong tonight. He's a new WBC champion, Devin Haney at 25.
That was impressive, man. That was impressive. I gotta say, you know who you also got to give credit to? Bill Haney, bro. He's got this kid boxing very, very well. And I'm telling you now, I was watching the way he's boxing, and I'm telling you, Bill Haney's gonna start getting calls for guys training him to train him. I don't know if he's gonna have time or if he's gonna take the time or if he even cares to. But I think that, guys with that kind of boxing style, especially, would be interested in calling Bill Haney to train with him. I'll be honest with you. I was thinking to myself, like, as I'm watching the fight, I was thinking to myself, man, if Bill Haney was around there in my career, I would have considered him. Every time I changed trainers, I would have considered him as one of the guys I would have been looking at, like, as maybe one of the guys I would choose or choose to call. Like he for that kind of boxing style. I mean, I'm looking at Devin. He's getting better. He's just the subtle things, man. The subtle things. And of course, Regis could have also done things that, don't get me wrong, Regis stylistically fell right into a lot of traps, but really subtle, brilliant stuff that I saw during the fight, and I'm watching it, and the discipline to stay with that, the wherewithal to stay with that and not kind of fall apart as well showed a lot of poise and maturity on the part of Devin Haney as well. I mean, that was impressive, bro. That was really something to watch. I know it's not your typical rock'em sock'em that people want to see, but I was just really studiously watching. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, man, I'm like, there's so much, it's so layered. This boxing is so layered from the steps. I mean, you see the subtle things he was doing, like these little 4-inch steps back and stepping left and stepping right. It was like literally 4 to 6 inches, just little steps, but those distance changes were just making Prograis miserable. Because in between, what is he doing? He's using that lead hand to fence with you. Then he's changing his level. He's going up high. He's coming low. And all the while using those little 4-inch changes, left, right, center, back, forward, whatever it is. And then in between that, sometimes he's not fencing. All of a sudden, he'll shoot a hard jab, or all of a sudden, he'll shoot a 1-2, or all of a sudden, he'll feint. All while continuing to do those other things I described to you. So he's not running. He's kind of there, just controlling you, kind of hypnotizing you like a cobra. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there was things Prograis could have done. I think this also shows the level of an older Lomachenko as well, because that was a very competitive fight. But oof, man, very, very impressive.
Chris, before you start, just want to let people know, Prograis was dropped in the third. He was dominated, I think, every second of the fight. I don't know if Haney lost a minute of this fight.
On three scorecards.
There was the scorecards were a shutout. I mean, there was everything to like about Devin Haney tonight, Chris.
No, the scorecards were exactly on point. And honestly, it wasn't that far off from what we said was going to happen in the fight, except for the knockdowns. Devin's on a different level in terms of boxing skills, and just the way their styles matched up. It was not a good look for Devin, for Regis. Sorry. And like you said, champ, like, got to give it to Bill, whether it's in terms of training a guy to be specifically ready for one specific fight, or if picking the right opponent. Because, I mean, we talked about this a lot leading up to the fight, and in terms of the stylistic matchup, it wasn't great for Regis. But Haney made zero mistakes. Zero mistakes tonight. He capitalized on every opportunity that he possibly could have. Also, he showed new strength and power at 140, and we kind of talked about that, like him moving up was going to increase his strength, but it increased his pop and his power too. Regis had no answer. Once he got dropped early on, that was pretty much the end of the fight.
It definitely was.
And I'll tell you, man, I mean, it was the even the corner, the intelligence in the corner and whatnot. I mean, you could even see in Regis's corner, they were telling him cut off the ring. He just wasn't doing it, man. I mean, he wasn't doing it. They would tell him cut off the ring. It's funny because as Haney's stepping over to the left, what you're supposed to do if you are Regis, you're supposed to step over to your right as what to your right, just step over. Instead, what's he doing? Haney's turning to his own left, and Regis is turning his back shoulder this way. You know what I mean? So he's turning, so he's following him. So he's allowing when you do this, when you open up your front shoulder, you now allow the guy to turn the corner. You know what I mean? Like, and he just did it over and over and over again. Don't get me wrong. In between, there's jabs hitting you, there's feints happening, but you can cut off the ring from out of range and at least apply mental pressure. I mean, dude, I don't know, man. It's like,
guys,
worked on it. I don't know, but it was still. I can't take away any credit from Devin Haney. I mean, this was brilliant in all facets of the fight.
We got the fourth member of the squad. Just like last time, George D. Metellus is in the studio. There he is, looking dapper this late at night. George, it was a dominant performance by Devin Haney tonight.
Yeah, start to finish, and Devin Haney, WBC super lightweight champion of the world, and he definitely put the rest of 140 on notice that he could possibly become undisputed at 140. By the way, to your point, Paulie, in the fifth round, in the middle of the round, they interviewed the trainer of Regis Prograis, and he said the same thing you were talking about, move to the right, and Prograis just can do it throughout the course of the fight. Devin Haney was spectacular. And of course, here on ProBox TV, we got your comments about the fight and some great comments. Colin Rice, 5 a.m. here in the UK, was a Haney masterclass.
See, that's why these guys are great. They stay up with us, hang out with us.
5 in the morning in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, he says, was Haney masterclass, 0 running. It's called boxing. Wow. So, Colin Rice, thank you very much for the comment. Mark says, man, Devin looked great to say the least, and I had Regis picked. And then Handflow Boxing Review said, I was watching with frustration seeing Prograis be too predictable with his rhythm and too flat. Oh, I just had it here. And too flat as well with, I lost it here. See, I got a little excited with the thing, with the mouse here. But that was Handflow Boxing also said, very disappointed in Regis. He kept giving Haney the exit to pivot out instead of trapping him in the corners and against the ropes.
Exactly.
Terrible footwork. So,
and I was showing how he was doing that is because, you know, instead of bringing his right shoulder, his shoulder over, he's turning his shoulder. He's turning his back shoulder. So you're now allowing this guy to turn the corner. If you bring your front shoulder over to the side, you know, you're following your front shoulder over, you're going to cut off his avenue, his exit route. I don't know, man. It was like, and that's all Haney needed. Haney just needed that one exit, and he could just control the distance because then, for center ring, again, he was doing all of that variation that I was describing before, and even the way he's fencing with that lead hand, very, very impressive.
And not only are they watching from the UK, they're watching from Japan as well. Shout out to Noah GX watching all the way in Japan. I mean, ProBox TV
in Japan,
is worldwide.
It's Sunday already in Japan.
Yep. Unbelievable. Some great comments here. Keep them coming, everyone on YouTube.
So Chris, in round 6, our own Sean Porter, who was our calling fight, said that Regis had to start getting to his body. Sergio Mora, who was calling the fight, said he needed to use foot feints. I mean, was he getting bad advice, or could he just not execute the advice? Was Devin just too good at this point in their careers?
I don't think at any point of Regis' career this would have been different. He has slow feet, and he just looked too slow tonight. And I don't know if he was ever a fast guy. He has quick hands on the inside, but never got to the position where he could be quick. We talked about this in our breakdown for the fight leading up to this. Regis is not a good guy when he has to be offensive, when he has to be aggressive, when he has to be going forward on the front foot. He doesn't jab. He's not super explosive on the way in. We saw that in the previous fight against Zorilla. Like, he could not cut off the ring properly. And you're fighting a guy like Devin Haney, who has such good lateral movement. But on top of being very good laterally, the guy is very good linearly, like with the straight ahead, with the straight hand, straight jab, straight right hands. And it was all night long. It was just lined up for the shots all night long. So, Haney's ability to stop on a dime and fire, which is something we talked about, was just too much for Regis. Too slow-footed. Yeah, he's got power, but listen, guys, you got to get there. And our esteemed colleague Teddy Atlas always talked about, listen, you might have a nuclear weapon but you got to have a delivery system. And Regis did not have that tonight. He could not get his power into position to do any kind of damage. And Haney did a perfect job of disarming him all night long, whether it was his footwork from lateral movement, whether it was his jab. I really think once he was able to hurt Regis's mind changed. And he said, I need to be way more careful. And that changed his mindset and his strategy from there on out. He no longer was willing to go for broke, which is what he needed to do, especially late in the fight. He had to go forward and just bomb away. But he kept getting hurt. So when you got a guy who can hurt you from the outside, who's outboxing you, and you have to be, aggressive in a way that you're going to put yourself in position to get hurt, Regis couldn't do that. He wasn't willing to do that. If Regis tried to win that fight, he was going to get knocked out, which is crazy to say. No one would have thought that Devin Haney was going to knock out Regis Prograis. He could have tonight. If Regis went for broke, he would have got knocked out. He didn't. He stayed on the outside. He was willing to get beat up and lose a 12-round decision. And that speaks to the boxing ability, the strategy, the mindset, the discipline of Devin Haney. He was phenomenal tonight. I mean, master boxer through and through.
We got some comments. Black Attack Squadron. This is the ProBox TV. Do you guys think Haney should challenge Teo next or Rolly? Paulie, I think we know who we want him to challenge next, but take that question. Teo.
I don't think either one of those happen.
I mean, I don't know that he's gonna forget either one of them right now because I think they're all different networks and whatnot. I could see Haney. Usually you get the title at a new weight class, and then you kind of go into like a sort of a smoother title defense. Maybe not as big of a name. I could see him honestly defending against the guy who won on the undercard tonight against Montana Love, Liam Paro,
Yeah.
And for once, I'm not going to criticize it because you know what? You kind of earned your first defense like this. You know what I'm saying? And Paro's not a bad guy. I mean, he's on the level of Devin Haney, but he's not a bad defense. And you know what? He also has already the notoriety with the Australians with having beaten Kambosos twice. So Liam Paro, kind of makes sense as far as fighting another Australian. I could just see that. I don't think he's going to wind up against Rolly or Teo right now. I think Rolly and Ryan Garcia is probably the fight that's going to get made. I would be shocked if that one doesn't get made. And then as far as Teo is concerned, I don't know that anybody's going to be in a rush to fight Teo, honestly. Like that's the toughest one still for me. But I think people would love to see it. I think people would be kind of clamoring for it. But since when do we clamor for fights in boxing and we actually get them? I mean,
Right.
like,
Well, Teo seems to be calling out Matias. It seems like that might be
that is a gutsy call.
which makes a lot of sense. In the way that Teo moves, he looks for the baddest, toughest guys around. So Matias is the guy
that's
that
the only
wants
time
to fight.
Chris, Cam, that's the only time he fights good. If he fights good fighters, he doesn't fight good if he doesn't fight somebody who's not good.
No,
like Teo would struggle against Paro, and Paro's not a bad fighter. But I'm saying he's not that level. Teo would struggle against Liam Paro. I guarantee you.
100%, and I agree with you. I think Haney's next event is going to be against Liam Paro. It makes sense. They were in another card together. Liam Paro had a fantastic showing against a guy who didn't show up and doesn't show up. But regardless, doesn't matter. He's undefeated. So matching those two guys up, Devin Haney, Liam Paro, another southpaw, it makes every sense in the world. And then Teo, who's calling out Matias, which I think is actually going to happen. Because whatever Teo wants to do, he does. And if he wants to fight the boogeyman in the division, it's going to happen. Because nobody else wants to fight that guy. So, cool. Teo will fight him. And then we got a wide open division from there. I don't know. 140 is getting very exciting.
Love 140. You know what else I love, guys? George D. Metellus is in the studio. He's got some more comments. Keep sending those comments. We're going to get as many in as we can.
Yeah, speaking of love, big up to the King Ashes on the super chat for his comment here. He says, shout out to Regis for taking the loss like a champ. No excuses, no complaints, humble in victory and defeat. So shout out to the King Ashes for his super chat. And then also at Jimmy Chin, he says something that was talking about what happened in the ring. He says, not too many boxers know how to cut off the ring effectively. Regis needed to get inside and rough Haney up.
That's a
And
good observation.
It is.
I really find that to be very frustrating when I watch guys not be able to cut off the ring. It's something even I learned to do later in my career, and I wasn't even a pressure fighter, and even I learned to cut off the ring. You know, that's how I beat Judah. But man, it's like you watch these guys and you're like, I don't know.
Well, Regis was unable to cut off the ring against Zaria, which he really needed to. He was unable to be on the front foot. He was unable to be.
He didn't even know how to start, champ, because like I said, he was turning his shoulder the wrong way.
So champ. So my argument to that is like, okay, you couldn't do it in that fight. You got the win. You got the Haney fight. Now, what the hell else are you going to work on?
Yeah.
Because you got a guy who's going to move. You got to be able to cut off the ring, and he still couldn't.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm gonna give it to Haney because what else are we gonna do? You know, the guy did a very good job of using his jab. Listen, the way he used that left arm block.
So many subtleties.
Ooh, it was beautiful. He would jab and then had a left arm block. Boom, step out. Boom, boom. I call that staying invisible in a southpaw. He would block with that lead hand and then step outside and roll. Whoop, slide, boom. He was always invisible. It was brilliant.
And
it was the subtleties of what Haney did tonight that was really, really gorgeous.
And Chan, one more thing, you know, speaking of that, let's step over to the left. What about the body shots? You know, something he's doing very well with those left hooks to the body. You know, and it's nice, solid ones with that step over to the left as well.
He could have stopped Regis tonight. He really could have. So he had him hurt upstairs with the right hands that he was super clean with, but then he started breaking him down with the body shots. But it's funny, I'm watching a fight. I'm like, he can stop this guy. He's not going to, because he's not going to take that extra step. Because I always say about punchers, I always say about knockout punchers, right? Being a boxer is one thing. Having the mentality to stop a guy is another. Listen, if you have that one hitter quitter, that's one thing. Haney will never have that. I never had that. Champ, you never had that. But having the mentality to step in and make that happen,
yeah,
I didn't see him taking that chance tonight, and he didn't. That's why it went 12. But he had the opportunity to stop Regis tonight, which is crazy to say, but he did.
And it's interesting you mentioned that point, because there's a comment here from Samuel Opoku John who says Haney has pillow hands, could not knock him out. I don't know if that's true.
No.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Disagree.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. I think he could, if he wanted to, he could have knocked him out there in this fight. All right, that's Schmack to Trappy on the super chat. Gotta love that. Schmack to Trappy, thanks for the love on the super chat. He says, Haney put a master class. I think Teo struggles against the boxer and mover. I think the only person who could give Haney slight problems would be Subriel Matis. I guess Matias is that he was trying to say there. He spelled it Matis. Yeah, so Schmack to Trappy, thanks for your love there on the super chat there. What do you make of the comments, Chris? I hear you say you disagree. What do you make of the comments there that Subira Matis would be the only one who could give Haney a problem in the ring?
I disagree wholeheartily. The only guy who gives Haney trouble is Teo, because Teo knows how to change distances, change levels, box, jab, move, everything. He has a potential to actually jab with Devin Haney, who's a phenomenal jabber. Matias doesn't. The guy gets hit too much. He comes forward. He's a front foot fighter. A guy like Devin Haney, who fought the way he did tonight with incredible discipline all night long, Matias's nightmare is that guy. And if you can't hit a guy, what are you going to do with all that power? Prograis had power. He couldn't deliver it. That's my whole point that I said earlier on. So is that fight good with Matias? Absolutely. Would I want to see it? Absolutely. I want to see Matias with everybody. But is he the only guy who can beat Devin Haney? No. I don't think that's true. But I think Teo is a guy, because of his boxing IQ, his ability to box, move, and also has power. And he's such a multifaceted fighter. That's the kind of guy that's going to take to beat a guy like Haney, who is, man, the kid has it all right now. At 140, he's a different animal. And Matias is an animal for sure. But I really don't think they're in the same place.
I think Matias has problems with guys with that kind of distance changing anyway. Although one thing that's very, very drastically different from Prograis, Matias does cut off the ring. He cuts off the ring well. And so he can punch his ass off. So it would still be very, very dangerous for Devin. But I think Devin's ability to cut off, change distances in those subtle ways that he does, it would be a fight where he'd have to focus every 3 minutes of every round. And it would be a high level fight with opposing styles. I would love to see that fight. I could see Haney edging it out, or I could see Haney get knocked out, you know, because again, Matias will force you to fight in spots you don't want to. He cuts it off. He cuts you off very well. He throws a lot of punches when he does cut you off. It would be a great fight. And at this point, Devin, for me, has reached the level where even if he gets beat by any of these guys, he's still of that level. I was questioning it up until now. You know what I mean? I was questioning, well, like I was saying, like if he gets beat right now, I'm not sure that he wasn't up until now, he wasn't the beneficiary of good matchmaking.
Champ, he didn't not only not get beat, he dominated and
right now,
dropped him.
But now that's what I'm saying. Right now, the way I'm looking at Devin Haney right now, he could go get beat, and I'd still say he's still a top guy. You know what I mean? Like at this point, you know what I mean? Like I've now I've seen enough of Devin Haney, and now especially with adding tonight on top, I can add tonight on top of everything else I've seen, and now with the package deal, I'm like, all right. I don't necessarily know if he beats Matias or Teo. I think he could slightly edge Matias, but like I said, I could see Matias knocking him out too. I could see Matias knocking anybody out really, but I think Matias' feet are poor, even though he cuts off the ring well. So I think it would be a phenomenal kind of a thing.
But cutting off the ring and getting hit is a different thing. Like he cuts off the ring well, but he gets hit.
Especially with the jabs and the subtle things. You know what I mean? Like Devin just hit you enough to frustrate you. You know that.
Yeah, but Devin tonight showed that if you take the wrong step, he can crack you and put you on your ass.
Yeah. But Teo, on the other hand,
he can also change your game plan, which he did tonight with Prograis.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, with Teo, I disagree with the comment altogether because Teo's a very athletic guy. Teo's not going to be bothered just because of footwork. Teo might be the best athlete out of the bunch. Actually,
I agree. Teo is athletically the best guy I've seen.
The guy does somersaults without using his hand. He just flips over.
Yeah. He's a whole different thing.
Guys, we got a couple of super chats. One from Scottson Sensi says Teo don't want that work at all. He's going to continue to outprice himself and make excuses. Let's be real. Teo Haney is the money fight, but Teo's scared. Then the Joy of Boxing said Haney should win Fighter of the Year. Let's think about this, Paulie. Devin Haney has had a hell of a year. I mean, Lomachenko and Prograis back to back. I mean, to take on those challenges back to back, that says something about this young man. He's 25 years old, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah, listen, I think he's in the running for it. I don't think he beat Loma, so I don't think you consider him for the Fighter of the Year. But I think he's shown his level. And even those people that say he beat Loma, they're starting to come out of the woodworks now. They remind me of the people who at first you heard nobody thought Canelo beat Golovkin in the first fight, or everybody had Canelo losing in the first fight. And then little by little, they're like, I could see him getting the win, or I could see how it was a draw. You know, like now 5 years later, 8 years later, half the people think Canelo deserved the draw in the first fight with Golovkin. Where when we watched it originally, you couldn't find one person that thought Canelo deserved that draw. You're starting to get that now with Haney and Lomachenko 6 months later. Like you'll have the occasional guy coming out of the woodworks and saying he thought Haney won, but 6 months ago nobody thought that. So I still, while you commend him for taking the challenges, for stepping up this year more so than any other year in his career, this was his coming out year for sure. I still think that, you know, he's in the running. Now, automatically, though, that doesn't mean I say he's no, because I say, okay, who am I thinking for Fighter of the Year? I don't really know. I mean, I have
David Benavidez.
So I'm like, okay, you know, you could consider him. You could put him in the running, but I think the Lomachenko fight kind of like makes it iffy. You know, tonight's performance is amazing, and you know, sometimes we get caught up in what have you done for me lately. Tonight's performance is amazing, but you know, I don't know, man. It's like it's there though. It's there. He's in a conversation.
Well, Chris,
yeah, he's in the conversation, but it's hard to put him over David Benavidez because David Benavidez is right. So he's such a streaking guy, and he had a great year as well. He didn't beat an all-time great like Lomachenko, which Devin Haney did. Listen, champ, on paper, he beat him. It doesn't matter. Like you said, when we look in hindsight, it doesn't matter. BoxRec says he beat him. His record's always going to say he beat him. Because he did. Because there was 3 judges that night and they really mattered, and they decided who won. But you got a guy like David Benavidez who's had a breakout year and has been chasing the biggest guy around, literally chasing him down into his bedroom. And he's had good fights on the way there too, and has been very dominant in those fights. So it's hard to put him over a David Benavidez, and I wouldn't. But
he gets an honorable mention.
In the conversation.
Yeah, we'll give him. He gets an honorable mention. It's hard to be good over Benavidez. See, like off the bat, I wasn't thinking when that came up. It's hard. Benavidez has to get Fighter of the Year this year. But
how do you beat Benavidez?
Haney honorable mention is. You know how you would have beat it if you would have beat Lomachenko convincingly? now you would have had it there. You would have beat Lomachenko convincingly, and then just done this to Regis Prograis. You'd have me there, man. I'm telling you. But not beating Lomachenko convincingly, for me, not even beating him outright.
You know what? We should talk about this on Monday.
And
we
Benavidez
should talk about this on Monday because that win over Regis is gonna settle, and we're gonna have to think about this in a couple of days and be like,
yeah, of course.
You know what?
It's when again, it's the way you won the fights. Benavidez dominated both guys, man. It's like and he stopped Andrade, who was undefeated. Haney's right there, though. I think he's right there, honorable mention. But I think if he'd have beaten Lomachenko convincingly, he might edge the edge at Benavidez. But the way it went down, I don't think he can. Although he'll be honorable mention.
We got another comment from Troller Bader who says Tio's going to ask for 60 million or something crazy. Paulie, you think he's going to price himself out of the fight?
I think that fight, both guys deserve a lot of money, honestly. I think that it's going to be one of those fights where it's going to be a little bit difficult to make because they're in different aisles. They're in different sides of the street, so to speak, also with the networks and the promoters. But I got to be honest, I think that fight now is kind of worth a lot of money. I'll be honest with you. I think there's, while before I would say, okay, guys going to price themselves out. I think now there's actually there's a quarrel here for the money, and all that other stuff. Like there's actually there's gonna be bickering because Haney's gonna say he beat Kambosos, the guy who beat Teo, and Teo's gonna say, well, I beat more top fighters. Well, Haney's gonna say, well, look at me, I just got to 140 and I dominated the WC champion. And so it's gonna be, I think it can go a lot of back and forth. I think those guys deserve a lot of money for that fight. It's probably the most expensive fight to make at 140 pounds right now. But I'll be honest, I think they deserve a lot of money.
Hey, fans. Teo is wildly underpaid. Respectively, for the guys around him, he is wildly underpaid. For as good as he is, and for what the people are making around him in his weight division, he is wildly underpaid. So stop with this, he's going to demand this, he's going to demand that. Listen, the guy deserves to demand a lot. Nobody's asking for 60 million. He might say whatever he says a lot of things, but listen, the kid deserves, the man deserves a lot of money. Especially if he's going to fight a guy like Devin Haney, which is a fight that he deserves. And he will deserve a lot of money. Both guys will. I agree with you 100%, champ. But I think he's gotten a negative response from the fans from some of the things he said regarding pay. And we've talked about this before. Don't talk about pay. Yeah. It's never a good idea for a fighter to talk about pay.
You know what
it hurts you. Hurts you in the long run.
The average fan is not going to understand.
No, $1 million is not $1 million.
How any seven-figure payday is underpaying? So it's like it's a different situation to put that dirty laundry out there. You never win. I notice you never win with that.
Guys, we've got people paying to get their comments in. We're going to get some more. We got Daryl Rogers who gave $10. This is an interesting one, Paulie.
Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate you, bro.
People on Twitter are comparing Montana Love to Adrian Broner. Is that fair? No. And can Liam Parrow make noise at 140? I
think Broner has more character than Montana Love.
Character, he's got more skill. The guy's a 4th division world champion.
I think Montana's skilled, honestly. He just has no bravery at all. I mean, as soon as he's in a tough situation, he jumps out the window. Listen, Broner, to a degree, he'll stop punching at you, but he'll stay in there and try to figure it out.
Broner has a chin. Broner is durable. Yeah. Broner will fight.
Montana Love doesn't even want to do that. He'll look for the first way out of the fight.
Montana Love's looking for the way out of the ring. No. Stop with that comparison.
But you know what? They see the flashy stuff. They see. I think he's both from Cincinnati. Are they both from Cincinnati? Or is he from Cincinnati as well, Montana? Or no? Where's he Montana Love from? I think Montana Love's from the same place too. So I think he's like Adrian Broner if Adrian Broner was retarded. It's the same thing,
That's been your line this week.
So I don't think he's like Adrian Broner. No, that's what I'm saying.
Hey, Chris, I've got one from Sleeper, $10. How are boxers able to handle getting punched in the nose? I can't imagine getting hit in my nose. My eyes water just thinking about it. Thanks.
I got a story about this. You go first, Chris.
Well, so it's funny. So when I wrote my book, I got a story. We both have stories. So when I wrote my book, So You Want to Be a Fighter, and the picture that we chose for the front cover of the book is me after I broke my nose in the first round of a 12-round title eliminator. And they always say, don't blow your nose when you get punched in the nose, right? They always say that in boxing. Don't blow your nose. Don't blow your nose. Mm-hmm. What happens when you blow your nose is if you break your nose, you break some of the nasal passages. And when you blow your nose, your eyes fill up with air, and then you get black eyes. So you get 2 black eyes when you break your nose.
Right.
So I broke my nose in the first round in a war. It was a fight. I ended up stopping the guy in the 8th round. It was a tight eliminator. But my face was a mess. I had 2 black eyes. Listen, it was a good fight, but like it wasn't a fight that I was that worried about losing. It was a tough fight, sure, 100%. But afterwards, they were like, "Oh my God, what happened? It must have been a fighting fight." I'm like, "No, it wasn't. Oh, it must have been Manny Pacquiao." No, it wasn't Manny Pacquiao. So it's like when you get hit in your nose, it's a whole different thing. And you get 2 swollen eyes, and you just deal with it. I mean, it sucks. You can't breathe. Your nose is bleeding. You're swallowing blood. It inhibits your airways for sure, but also your eyes swell up and you might not be able to see. So good question. How do you fight through breaking your nose or getting hit in your nose? It's not easy, but what we do is not easy. So Champ, whatever you got.
Okay, mine is in 2 parts. First, I only broke my nose 1 time in the amateurs, although it's probably been crooked it up a bunch of times. I only broke my nose once in the amateurs. My whole pro career, I never broke my nose.
I broke my nose 100 times.
So okay, but I'll be honest. When I first started boxing, I'm like, yeah, I've been in street fights. I can, whatever. I can get in sparring. My second sparring session, my first sparring session, I sparred this pro who had a few pro fights, and he didn't even throw a punch at me. He just kind of moved around the ring. Second time sparring, I sparred Dominic Monaco. Chris, you know Dominic Monaco? Everybody in New York knows Dominic Monaco.
Yep. I do know him.
Like
Yeah.
100 years old, pro, but he could always punch. So I told my trainer, I'm like, "Come on, man. Am I gonna put me with this old guy?" And my trainer's like, "What do you mean? Who are you? He's only your second pro fight. Don't discount anybody. Don't ever do that." And I'm in my mind, I'm 16 years old. I'm like, yeah. I put my, who the hell am I? Right? I'm thinking like, who the hell am I? Now looking back, I'm like, who the hell do I think? I go, the bell rings. I get in the middle of the ring. Monaco, remember Monaco used to throw these weird overhand shots? Those an overhand right hits me dead in my nose. Boom. My eyes started tearing, like not because I wanted to cry, but because when your nose is still sensitive and it hasn't been like punched enough times, you get these teary eyes. So I think that's what the guy who asking the question is talking about.
Yeah.
Like, how do you hit in the nose? Your eyes get teary. I'll tell you what.
That goes away.
You hit in the nose enough times in your life, it becomes like calloused. You can hit me dead in my nose now. Nothing, unless you break it, obviously. But
I got one more story from that. Kickboxing. I fought this Taekwondo world champion. This guy came out with a jump spinning 720 kick, and I knew that was his move. I'm like, all right, here it comes. And I went to block it with my hand, and his knee hit my wrist, and my wrist broke my nose. Ooh. And my nose literally went from this side of my face to the other side of my face. And it was crooked. Like, I mean, literally, this was like over like this. And I'd never been hit like that before. I felt like I was in a car accident. And the ref stops us, whatever. And I was like, it was weird. There's all this blood on my chest. And I'm like looking down. And then I wiped my nose with my right hand. And I knocked my nose back into place. And I heard it crunch. And then now the blood went like.
So you want to be a fighter?
Hey, guys, we got a $50 super chat in here from Troller Bader. Says,
Bader.
Tio Troller Brader. Tio couldn't sell out the theater, which holds 5,000 against a decent name in Josh Taylor. He deserves 10 to 15 million for the Haney fight, but no more than that. I don't know. He's giving out the purse.
I think he would take that to 15 million.
Yeah,
I do too.
I'll be honest with you. Like, if you give him that, I think you take it. But yeah, you're right. Devin just sold out San Fran tonight. I don't know what the ticket prices were, but regardless, it's still an accomplishment. He sold out San Fran tonight. Teo, the problem with Teo is he's from Brooklyn, but he's not in Brooklyn in a long time. So I don't know if he's, I don't think he's raised there around the Brooklyn training gyms and whatnot. So I don't think he's got that notoriety in Brooklyn like that. But then again, Devin doesn't either, although his father probably has a lot of connections in San Fran. But yeah, I mean, listen, when I like to match a fight as far as fantasy fight, like a Haney and Teo fight, I don't like to stay in the business side of it. I'll talk about the business side of it in terms of, don't blame Teo for wanting more money. But at the same time, I want to see the matchup. As far as them negotiating it, I just keep my fingers crossed and hope they can negotiate it. I don't get into who deserves more because, like I said before, I think both guys are going to say, I did this. Well, I did that. Well, I beat the guy that beat you. Well, you know what? I beat more top guys and so on and so forth. It's gonna. You can play that. You can play that tit for tat game all the time in the negotiation. So that's why it's not really easy or good to get into their negotiations. We can just cross our fingers and hope they fight.
Well, these super chats are coming in hard and fast. But don't forget, before we go to George DiMatteis, December 13th, ProBox TV Wednesday Night Fights, Paulie and Chris calling great fights. We're going to keep these great fights going. George D. Metellus, I can't keep up with these super chats, man. They're coming in fast and furious.
They sure are. And I keep, every time y'all start talking about noses, I keep touching my nose, man. It's,
Yeah, I did.
Dude, I'm like rubbing my nose now.
oh man, yeah. I'm gonna be doing it all the way home. Anyway, by the way, we got some. We know we heard some from someone from the UK. We heard from comment from Japan. We have Nabiyu Samuel watching you guys from Ethiopia, Africa. That's 4 continents here.
Wow,
around the world tonight.
That's how you know we're growing, bro.
Amazing. All right, let's get to these super chats real quick here. Matthew Castro, $3. Thank you, Matthew, for the love on the super chat. He says Benavidez over Crawford for Fighter of the Year. So that's his comment there. IGG with a $5 donation. Thank you, IGG 2006. Is cutting the ring, getting inside with waist/head movement and smart pressure becoming a lost art? Which coach do you think at this moment still teaches this? He put ATM, I almost put automatic teller machine, but it's at this moment. Coach teaches this.
I would probably, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would say, like, if you go to like a Nacho Beristain, I'm sure like that guy will teach you a great way to cut off the ring. I'm sure Juan Manuel Marquez, our coach champion here at ProBox TV, could probably answer the question better than me. But I would expect like an old school trainer like that definitely knows how to teach not only to cut off the ring, but teach you to cut off the ring very well. But there's trainers that will, there are still trainers that can teach it. I think it's a matter of execution as well, especially against different kind of footwork like Devin Haney's footwork. It's a little bit more complicated.
So, all right, when it comes to cutting off the ring, like it depends on the style of the fighter. Like, you're not going to take a guy like Devin Haney and have him be a come forwards, cut off the ring type of fighter, because you have to be durable. And you got to be an inside defensive fighter. You're going to be aggressively defensive, which is something that Jack Dempsey, we're going way back, used to fight. But also, like, Julio Cesar Chavez was like that, too. He was very aggressive in his defense, and the way he cut off the ring was a whole different thing. Canelo actually does that really, really well. We saw that in the Caleb Plant fight.
Yeah.
So it depends. You have to be a very durable fighter who can, who has good head movement on the way in, is able to change levels, but also is durable enough physically. You know, we always talk about defense. We always talk about guys who are like defensively sound and thinking of them as kind of like not being the toughest or the most or the stiffest guys. Think of like almost like a frail guy. Like Pernell Whitaker was like, yeah, but he slipped and slid. Listen, I think of a good defense fighter as Winky Wright. That guy was physically strong, and he walked you down, and he took punches on his arms and his shoulders because he was very physically strong. Canelo Alvarez is a very physically strong guy. He's got big, rounded shoulders for a reason. He's able to take those shots and take those on the glove and then come back and fire. So, stylistically, you have to also be physically built to be that kind of fighter. So, it's not just the coach that's going to be able to teach you how to do that. You also have the body type and physicality and mentality to be that kind of fighter.
For me though, I'll say Pernell Whitaker used to know how to cut off the ring well as well when he used to come forward.
But he's also a physically strong guy.
Yeah, but in my
you don't think about him like that.
In my situation, but you know, because most of the time people think of Pernell as going backwards, but he would mix it up. When he come forward, he knew how to cut off the ring very well. Because a lot of times cutting off the ring is also mental. It doesn't have to be physical. For example, if I would cut off the ring, I wouldn't actually try to attack you. I would just try to eliminate your escape routes if you were going backwards. So I knew to occupy the space you were leaving me. So it makes me look like I'm mentally in charge, and it makes you think I'm mentally in charge, even though physically I'm probably not going to be in charge unless I can dominate you with my jab. But if I can start to force you back mentally and just cut off the ring, now you're kind of going to cooperate with me if I sell it to you the right way. And then I stay out of range. I would never get in range when cutting off the ring. And then I would just keep it at that thread and then just try to jab you or hit you with lead rights and just keep you in that position. And then all of a sudden you're panicking, you know, because now you feel like you're not getting away. Meantime, I didn't really do a lot. So I feel like cutting off the ring can also be a mental thing and not just a physical thing. If you occupy the space, for example, tonight, Devin Haney a lot of times are making a U shape, right? He would get out or you make a U. When he's making that U, I feel like Prograis should have stepped in, not to engage, but just step in just so Haney couldn't complete his U, because if he completes his U, he's going to be right back in front of Prograis. So he's going to step out. Now Prograis can step in. Now, all of a sudden, from a mental perspective, Haney has to kind of stop and not necessarily engage, but he has to realize, okay, he's in danger again. Instead, he really wasn't stepping in. I don't even know if I'm making sense. It's such a kind of a cerebral. I'm a champ. I know you understand me, but I don't know if everybody will understand. But it's like in that situation, just a little subtle step, a little subtle cutoff, mentally does the job, even with a little bit of just a little bit of the work physically.
Well, George is going to give us some more, but you know what? Really quick, Paul, you brought up Winky Wright, and someone in the chat.
Oh, Chris did.
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris, you brought up Winky Wright. Someone in the chat said all Winky Wright did is jab in his fights. Did that person not see Winky Wright and Felix Trinidad and what he did with that jab to
His
Tito?
jab was good though.
Let's go.
away,
Whoa,
exactly.
okay,
Go back
okay,
and watch that
okay.
fight.
I literally just had this conversation with my nephew while watching this fight. All you need is a jab to
Exactly.
win every single fight. If your jab is good enough, you will win every round of every fight at every level. So stop with all the guy had was a jab.
And not only the jab though, but Winky himself was a high, mostly jab puncher, but he also stepped to you. So again, that mental pressure that I'm describing a few seconds ago, that was Winky as well, because he would make you see what
He was physically imposing. He was a big, tall,
Well, I didn't
strong
listen.
guy.
I didn't want to get sidetracked because I know George DiMattelis has some more super chats. Guys, we got over 2,000 people with us right now from all over the world. So, George, I know you've got some more.
Yeah, for sure. We've hit 4 different continents
like a
so
slumber
far
party over here
on the super chat, man. People are feeling it after here on ProBox TV after that devastating performance by Devin Haney. All right, let's get to the super chats. Daryl Rogers, $20. Daryl, thank you very much for the love on the super chat. Says the last 2 fights, Regis haven't looked good. Do you guys think he can still be a top fighter at 140 or become a gatekeeper at 140? And then let's get to the Benny and Steve show with a $50 super chat. Benny and Steve show, thank you very much. This is the best boxing channel, period. Paulie, your interview drops Monday. Thanks again. Chris, you got to come on the show after today. I'm a Haney fan. He wasn't boring. So
shout out to Benny and Steve.
The Benny and Steve show. Thank you very much, guys, for your
well said.
super chat.
He was not boring.
Yeah, and we still got some more here on the super chats here. Let's run through them real quickly here. AS with $5. AS, thank you very much on the super chat. After tonight, who wins if they fight at 140, Haney or Shakur? Would Shakur be at a disadvantage because he has a low volume offense? And then before you answer that question, one more on the super chat. Schmack the Trappy, $2.99 says Hitchens versus Paro or Hitchens versus Haney next. But let's go to the question, Haney or Shakur, and would Shakur have a disadvantage because of the low offense? AS with this
really difficult fight to call right now because Shakur, listen, his last fight he weighed 133. Haney weighed 140 and looked big. So it's a big jump for Shakur to go up to fight him. It doesn't make any sense. We're talking about fantasy matchup at this point. It's not happening anytime soon. Not saying it's not going to happen, but it's not happening anytime soon. I think they're very, very far away in terms of their weight class, in terms of their timelines. But right now, if they're going to fight at 140, obviously Shakur's going to have to jump up a lot. And the way that Haney looked tonight and keeping the distance and being busy, I mean, it's a very, very difficult fight to think that Shakur would win that fight. But again, the weight classes matter.
I also think it's different styles too. You know, it would be a really good chess match. I think it will be a good fight. Because
it would be one of the worst fights we've ever seen.
I also think Shakur's output goes up. You know, in a fight like that. You know what I'm saying? Because Haney's not the biggest puncher either.
I disagree. I think Haney's output goes down in that fight.
Yeah.
And they both are at super low level output.
So they both bring the worst out on each other.
Yep.
And as far as the other question, George, I want to answer it with can Prograis be still a gatekeeper? I think Prograis is an ex-champion. You can always monetize your reputation as an ex-champion. I think we all can say, like, at the end of our careers, we still got paid decently well because guys were trying to use our names as resumes on their records, new champions and whatnot. I think Prograis can still be that. I think if Prograis goes and gets a win or two, below the radar, or even, an average opponent, again, win or two against average opponents, he probably can come back because I'm sure he's going to be a free agent now, or if he was with Matchroom, I'm sure that there's not going to be a lot they can do with him. Either he can make a money fight against Subriel Matias, for example. I don't think he'll get Teofimo Lopez, or maybe somebody like a Richardson Hitchens who is stepping up, and Matchroom will pay Regis for the opportunity to get him in the ring with Richardson Hitchens, and Regis as the B-side in that fight, as an ex-champion in that fight, becomes like the name guy that they need to fill the resume of Richardson Hitchens. And you're supposed to lose those fights, but every once in a while you win those fights. They tried to do that to me when I went to Ukraine against Zinchenko and I beat him. So every once in a while, yeah, you got to be in it to win it. So you can be a gatekeeper and then kind of wind up with a big opportunity and fall in your lap if you're able to win it, you know? So I think there's still going to be opportunities for Regis, but he's probably has to go get a win or two and look decent in them. And he doesn't probably have to fight anybody big in those wins or two. Just has to come back and get a win or two. He's still an ex-world champion.
George, hold
Guys,
on.
we got one more super chat, then we're going to a guest. Sleeper,
Okay.
$10 said, I heard someone on ProBox is going to do a Mike Tyson kidney challenge. Any thanks? No, it was not Mike Tyson. The challenge was to me to do it with Paulie, Tim, Sean, and Chris.
Yeah, wait a second.
Oh, well, George.
You were
No,
still
no, that's good.
I
I talked to Mike this weekend. He said he's 100% down. So you
Okay,
can put
moving
you can
on.
put on any body shield you want.
Next time you fly down to Florida, your Mike lives down the street, bro.
Yeah,
All right,
Mike
well,
trains down here
listen,
in Boca. He's ready.
Moving on, we're gonna go to George DeMetalis. We got a special guest that's about to come in the house.
Yes. By the way, we've hit another continent as Gonzalo Gori. Vamos Argentina. Dinamita Marquez and Superior Martinez.
Oh, yeah.
Always. So that's
Chris, those are
5
your relatives.
continents.
That's my
Five-
price.
Yeah,
Mi primo.
Your primo there. 5 continents we've hit here on ProBox TV with the live chat. All right. Live at the Chase Center is our own Declan Warrington to give us his insight on Devin Haney's awesome performance.
Gents, good evening. How you doing?
Declan.
Well, what's
up,
up,
Deck?
Declan?
All right, gents.
So Declan, give us your thoughts on Devin Haney and his performance. I mean, it was dominating from start to finish. How did you see it ringside?
Yeah, so I was among those who was in a minority who thought he beat Lomachenko, but I think tonight might be remembered as the time he came of age. He stepping up in weight probably made him more destructive. I think sharing the ring with Lomachenko has improved him as a fighter, and he made Prograis look one-dimensional and old, which I don't say lightly because he's a fighter I'm very fond of. He's been a really good fighter, but he looked out of his depth from the opening bell.
Hey, Declan, I want you, if people don't know who you are, you're one of the best boxing writers on the planet. So,
Amen to that.
So tell us a little bit. Listen, I want to plug ProBox a little bit here and the website and the writers that we have, and then we'll move on to more Devin Haney talk.
All right, then let's not overestimate me for a start. ProBox, I've spent a lot of this year traveling mainly around the US trying to cover the best fights that we think are worth fighting, and this is the latest one. I'll be on to Rodriguez Edwards next week. I'm already planning to be at Fury Usyk next year, so we're trying to do the sport justice, I guess.
Yeah, well, Deck, you're a road warrior, and you do a fantastic job. You and I speak on the regular, and we all appreciate what you do for, the boxing world, but also for ProBox TV. So, thank you
That's
for your
very
work.
kind. Thank you. I'm not sure I deserve that, but thank you again.
Declan, were you at the post-fight press conference? And anything happened at the post-fight press conference? Anything worth talking about? Because those are the things we missed out on. We saw inside the ring, but post-fight press conferences, guys like you got to give us the updates.
Sure, I'm actually sat outside it now. It's taking place as we speak. Regis Prograis has showed up, which is encouraging because, let's face it, it's part of the modern boxing culture, I guess. If a fighter loses convincingly, you don't hear from him post-fight. But he also, there was concern at the final bell that maybe he'd be getting rushed off to hospital because of how one-sided the fight was. He's there. It won't surprise any of you to know that he's tough enough to show it. But, yeah, he's speaking. I don't know what's being said because I'm out here, but encouraging enough, I guess. And I'd just like to make a prediction, by the way. Liam Paro winning on the undercard. I expected Prograis to lose tonight, which, again, I don't take any pleasure in saying, but because Paro was lined up to fight him in June when, of course, he got injured and Danielito Zorrilla replaced him, my suspicion is at some point Matchroom will try to make the fight between those two again, which will be the final fight of Prograis' deal with Matchroom.
Declan, I have one last question, then we're going to go to George Metellus, but Devin Haney's 25 years old. I mean, he was dominant. His last 2 fights, Lomachenko win and the win tonight against Prograis. Talk about this guy. He's only 25 years old, and he appears to be getting better.
Absolutely, yeah. That was the noticeable thing tonight. And look, if you're a high-quality fighter, when you share the ring with really good fighters, you will improve. And I think Lomachenko has improved him immeasurably. I think stepping up in weight has improved him. I'm not sure how easily he made the weight because he was wearing his sunglasses at the pre-fight press conference on Thursday. But that is a fighter who's maturing, improving, and he's already talking about going up to welterweight. Maybe he'll be a better fighter at welterweight again. But let's face it, tonight he was probably good enough that he challenges Teofimo Lopez as number 1 in the division. That's the fight that probably has to happen at some point.
Well, Declan, thank you, man. We'll let you get back to the post-fight presser. Look forward to talking to you. By the way, I'm in a chat with Declan and a bunch of writers. It's the best boxing chat in the world. So, guys, I mean, I don't know, man. It was really impressive. Throw any adjective you want to throw out there, Paulie. It was a hell of a night for the champ, for the new champ, Devin Haney.
Yeah. I mean, he's sort of set his arrival in style at 140 pounds. You know, he looked like his body was breathing more. He wasn't struggling to make the weight. You can see he was energized. Physically, he looked strong. He actually made Prograis look small, even though Prograis was an 140 pounder. But it's the kind of performance that makes you hope he gets back in the ring soon, and you can see him again. And in a weight class where, like I said, there's, like we've been talking about, there's good champions in this weight class, very good champions, but also the guys creeping up around there that are also good fighters, like your Richardson Hitchens. Liam Paro tonight got a good win. There's some certain other guys at 140 pounds that are just lurking in and around the weight class. It's going to be a fun weight class to watch unfold.
George DiMattelis, do we have more super chats in here? Because I try to keep up with them.
Yeah,
I can't because they're flying in fast and furious. Seriously.
Yeah.
Let me
All
get
over the
something.
world.
I'll get something in before the super chat comes in. But we Declan just mentioned that potentially there's a Prograis and Para fight. I don't see that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but I think what you said, Champ, earlier is going to be a Haney Para fight because they're both undefeated. That fight makes a lot of sense. And then you have a guy like Prograis, who's on, he obviously just came off a loss, and you mentioned a guy, Richardson Hitchens. I can see that fight being next, a Prograis Richardson Hitchens.
Don't you think you got to get a win for Prograis first?
I don't think so. I think I could. Like Declan said, this is last bout on their contract, so they're not gonna look to build him. So he's gonna get a fight for the next guy coming up, and it looks like, I mean, Richardson Hitchens is a streaking guy. He's undefeated. He's very, very good. I could see that fight next.
All right. Well, Darryl Rogers sent us $20, and we had a similar one before. But listen, these people are paying to get these comments in. We're gonna get them in. Paulie,
Let's get him in, G. Get him in.
Let's go.
Darryl Rogers says last two fights, Regis hasn't looked good. Do you guys think he can still be a top fighter at 140?
I think we had this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think they're not going to allow him to. You know, he's going to have to take the really long route if he wants to keep fighting. Because, like the champ Chris said, if one more fight left on the contract and with Matchroom, they'll probably use him to kind of big up Richardson Hitchens. He'll probably get matched up against Richardson Hitchens so that Hitchens can use his name as a resume builder. And I think at the way he's been looking, Prograis, I think Richardson beats him because Richardson is also a guy who's very good with range control and speedy boxing. And after a loss like that, Prograis' contract runs out, he would have to kind of rebuild below the radar. So that now would have to be a patient approach for a guy in his mid-30s. I don't know if he can come back after that.
Being patient at 34 years old is really tough to do.
Yeah. George DiMattelis, what else you got for us, man?
All right, let's fly through these super chats here. DJ Curtis 79, $5. DJ Curtis 79. Thank you very much on the super chat.
Curtis.
He says, unpopular opinion. I think Gary Antoine Russell has a good chance of beating Haney. Interesting quote.
And but I did another name at a 140. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. What a division.
Gary Antoine, probably I get you what? Gary Antoine might wind up against like a Tubril Matias because they're both PBC guys, right?
By the way,
you can kind of match them up based on the promoters they're signed to. Dude, you're actually good fighters that you forget about. I forgot about Gary Antoine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's that poor kid gets lost in the shuffle because he doesn't fight any of the name guys when they're in a viable age.
And it's a hell of a shuffle, too, to get lost in. I mean,
he plays Francis Bartholomew, who's 50 years old, and then people really hear about it. But yeah, he's another guy who's in the mix. The problem
guys,
with him
we got
is
more super chats. Listen, George has some more. George, you have more, right?
We got to fly through these. Yeah.
Dig in.
There we go. Miguel Velasquez says for $9.99. Thank you, Miguel, on the super chat. Is it a coincidence that Haney's last 4 fights now have been against good, small fighters? Let's face it, Regis looked like he was fighting a big 147.
Yeah, but he moved up in weight.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's bigger, but he moved up in weight.
He's
This is
a junior
first fight at 140.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, we spoke about this prior to the fight. I said that I think that Haney's going to be the bigger man. Even Regis said that.
Yeah.
And he was, obviously. Devin's a big kid. He's a big guy. Like he's not like he was killing himself to make 135. And we spoke about that. I said at 140, I think he'd be physically stronger. I didn't think his power would be better. Obviously, it actually was. But his physicality was definitely there tonight. He was the physically bigger and stronger man in the ring tonight. He used it very, very well. He boxed beautifully, had enough power to drop Prograis, was physical enough to keep him on the outside and not allow him to fight on the inside. Was Prograis smaller? Sure. But Haney's just doing a better job at the weigh-in. I'm not going to say he's picking smaller guys. He's just doing it well.
Yeah. All right, let's fly through these super chats. AS at $5 says Teo said he wants Crawford. How would Teo do in that fight at 147? Maybe we'll discuss that on Deep Waters or sparring sessions or top stories as well. We'll see how that plays out.
Or never.
Then,
we can never talk about that.
Yeah, Ryan Shepard, the Bay Area showdown for this fight. What cities outside of the usual destinations would you like to see get a big fight? Yeah, that's an interesting one. Any cities that come to mind outside of Vegas, San Francisco, the usual suspects?
South Florida, let's go. There's no fights down here.
We had the top rank card there tonight.
Yeah,
I know, but it was in Pembroke Pines. Let's go to Miami. Let's go to
Yavne Yildirim here.
Yeah, in Miami. I was there.
Chicago's a good city that not a lot of fights always happen there.
Yeah,
but it's so cold there for majority of the year. We got to pick a good month.
I suggest.
Hey, bring him to Plant City. Bring some big fight. Come on, bring him. We got.
With Teo fighting Crawford, I just want to answer the other super chat. I don't think it happens because Crawford's looking for big money fights and Teo's in activity. Teo's lost to Kambosos. We brought this up on one of our shows. Teo's loss to Kambosos hurts his ability to kind of jump into that position. If Teo had been undefeated, ex-undisputed lightweight champion, now walked up to 140 with a world title, he'd have that really sparkling record. But that what happened to him with Kambosos hurts his ability to get Crawford, I think.
Hey guys, I got a couple of quotes from Regis from the post-fight presser. He said he thinks that Haney's better than Josh Taylor. He said he was better and quicker than I thought for sure. He couldn't get to him. I have to go back. He says I couldn't get to him. Have to go back to the gym and work on my footwork. A little late for that. Nothing in the fight ever hurt me. I never felt like I was in trouble. So, I mean, Paulie, that's what Prograis said. But you know, another thing about Devin Haney, Paulie. He had 9 previous fights above 135. I know there were over-the-limit lightweight fights, but he's fought at this weight before. He looked fantastic at the weigh-in. He looked fantastic in the fight.
Have you guys been around Devin?
He's a big guy.
And in your mid-20s, honestly, you're still kind of filling out naturally. You know, this is a natural move up in weight. I think if he moves up to welterweight, he'll be naturally smaller. But I think moving up at 25 years old, it's still a natural move up where you're actually physically growing. So I don't think you lose any strength when you're growing up in weight like that, because you're literally growing up in weight. You're not going up in weight.
So I heard he used to weigh in the mid 150s after his weigh-ins for 35. So now at 40, he's going to be pushing 160 pounds in the ring, and he looked all of that tonight. And I don't think Prograis is just not that big of a guy. I've been around both of them. I've hugged both guys. They're different sized men. Devin's a much bigger guy.
Yeah.
And Devin is gonna fill out to be a true 140 and a true 147 pounder. Regis will never fight at 147 and be able to fight elite guys. Devin can.
Guys, we talked about Haney against Matias earlier, and we had a poll up. 79% of the people think that Haney would beat Matias. They agree with you guys. So just want to get that out there. Almost 80%.
Like I said, I would slightly edge Haney, but I could see also Haney getting knocked out. It's that kind of fight because I think Matias cuts off the ring well. Haney controls range well. You got an argument for both guys. I think that's so lopsided too. I also think it's lopsided because Haney. But I also think it's lopsided because Haney just won tonight. If he would have had it 3 weeks ago when now Matias blew away Ergashev, he would have probably had more votes for Matias. It's one of those fights where you just want to see it, and so you can find out who'd win it. I think it'll be a really good fight, even stylistic.
Fun fight. I think Haney smokes him.
Think so?
Yeah.
You don't think Matias cuts off the ring well though? No?
Doesn't matter. He's gonna walk into so many shots, and I think that Haney has shown that he's strong enough and stiff enough with his power shots that he's gonna stop. He's gonna stop Matias on his heels. He's probably gonna drop him. He might even stop him. Honestly,
I slightly favor Haney but I don't know, man. You'd have to.
I Haney big time. I got Haney big time in that
all
fight.
3 minutes of the round, and that's a big punching guy.
I think Matias is a better shot against Teo, but I think Haney wipes him.
All right. Well, we had another question. Montana Love. We talked about him earlier. Where do you guys think he goes from here? I mean, this division, man. I
Home?
mean, it's he's going to go home. We know that for
Home
sure.
with his French
Well,
bulldog.
no, he might not go home. He just had a
Remember he
big
walked
win.
in the
Chris.
ring
He's
with his
not
French
going
bulldog,
home.
with his French poodle or whatever, his French bulldog. Home to hang out with his dog.
But yeah, I'm sorry, he just had a big loss, so he probably will go home. So
Not
Two big
about
losses.
the
Two big
loss.
losses.
It's about the way you lose. It's not about the big loss.
Two
It's
big
about-
losses.
It's about the way you lose. He hasn't. It's coming out more and more that
Which
he's
one
lacking
was
too much
worse,
character.
Paulie? Which one was worse?
Lacking-
This one or the
lacking-
last one?
Yeah, lacking too much character. They've just exposed a big hole in his repertoire that is really when you're lacking that part of an arsenal, which is character, you're not going many places in this sport.
Yeah, you don't
guys-
belong in the elite.
let's speculate a little about 140 because 2024 is right around the corner. I mean, there's so many big name guys, and I know this is asking you to guess, but Paulie, what do you think the first fight's going to be of the year? Like any of these big guys fighting each other, is it going to happen? Who do you think it will happen with? So many big names, we just want them to fight.
In boxing, or in the weight class?
No,
No,
140.
at 140.
Oh, in 140.
Yeah.
None of them are gonna fight each other. They're gonna walk on parallel lines. I'm sorry, I'm a realist too. They're not gonna fight each other. They're gonna just go on parallel lines. That's what they're gonna do.
Teo Matias. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening in the first third of the year. I'm telling you.
Ooh.
I think Teo is that crazy. He's
He's the top rank. Are they gonna make a deal with PBC?
Make it happen. I think if Teo wants it and he's pushing for it, you cannot throw that guy out there and not make that fight happen. Because now Matias is calling for it too. I think it's a silly fight not to make.
Hey, maybe it'll be on Prime. I mean, who knows? Who knows where it's going to be? But George D. Metellus, you got some more super chats?
Yeah, we definitely got some very interesting comments here. IWG 2006 said Montana should have jumped out of the ring this time. LOL. So, yeah, Montana Love's career is not looking really good right now. Yeah, and
Well, he jumped out of the fight with
We're gonna change his name to
Hitchens fight.
Wyoming, Nebraska.
Yeah.
He was supposed to fight Hitchens and jumped out of the fight. So let's even before the fight even happened. So let's Champ, you mentioned the last two fights were bad. There's a third one in there that he completely jumped out of. So
Big Top Warren said, or Big Top Warren says, what do you think about Andy Cruz? He had that, what was it, second
Look
round?
good tonight.
knockout
He looked
tonight?
good. He's
That's a
only
bad-
2-0
that's a
though. I
bad
mean, what are
man.
we gonna say? He's only 2-0, but of course he's gonna be somebody to watch for. You know, he's a big timer. And
He's a bad
there's a
man.
lot expected of him. Speaking of Cubans, Robeisy Ramirez fought tonight too. What did he do?
lost,
What?
He lost. Robeisy Ramirez
Robeisy Ramirez
lost.
lost?
Yep.
What?
I believe so, yep.
No.
I'm going to double check
on,
here to
no
make
way.
sure.
Oh, sir.
are we doing this live?
Yeah, we're doing this live right now.
This is live.
Thank goodness.
We
Yeah.
don't know this.
He was
He
lost.
did lose.
He lost
He
to
did
Rafael Espinosa. Got him.
Wow.
Wow.
Majority decision.
Trade knockdowns. Bro,
Yep.
this was more competitive than Haney and Prograis.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow. Well, listen, while we soak that in, give yourselves a minute. Xander Zayas also fought on that undercard.
I saw
and he
that.
did really good.
Yeah,
Xander,
body shot
Xander
knockout.
looked really sharp tonight.
Carrington, Shoo, Brooklyn. Boom.
Wow. What a.
By the way,
the scores in that fight were 113, 113, 114, 112, and 115, 111.
George, you just blew my mind. Holy cow! This is live. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
That's a.
yeah. By
Go
the
ahead,
way,
George.
Paulie, somebody giving you some love on the super chat there, saying Bensonhurst represent. So I had to show that out there. Yeah.
Bensonhurst.
Yeah. Somebody put that on the super chat. So, here's another super chat from the King Ashes saying, going back to the Prograis Haney situation, said, should Regis switch his training team? $2 super chat by the King Ashes there.
Nah, I don't think that's gonna. I don't think
Would
that's
it even
gonna-
matter at this point, Chris?
Oh, he's got a great team, and
Yeah.
he's 34 years old. He's in the twilight of his career. Why? No, it doesn't make sense. No.
Yeah. And then another
His
super
corner was telling him the right thing to do. He just didn't do it.
Right. Another one says Dwight Howard is straight. $20.
Oh, man.
All right.
Okay.
Wow.
It's
Don't
me.
even touch that part.
Yeah.
No.
We'll leave that one
Let
alone.
him touch it.
Devin, he says Devin should fight Wilder to prove himself. I don't know why that when you're talking about massive difference in weight classes here between Devin Haney.
I love when people do that shit.
Yeah, I don't get it. But
Hey, George, can I just
yeah, it
interrupt?
came out on the super
Can
chat.
I interrupt 1 second, George?
Please. Yeah.
Jim Sorensen, one of our crack producers, said that Haney arrived at the post-fight press conference with his sick grandmother. And if you don't know the story, she's struggling with cancer, and they didn't know if she would be well enough to attend the fight. It's a story that a lot of us know about. So glad to see that his grandmother was able to make it to the fight, and she's at the post-fight press conference with the champ right now. It's a good story. I just wanted to get that out there. But George, if we have more crazy super chats, man, just keep them coming.
Yeah, let's see. Go through the super chats here. Get some good comments as well. Let's see. Well, dude was huge, 6'1". I think he's talking about Rafael Espinosa taking down Robeisy Ramirez. So that might be a reason why Ramirez was upset in that fight.
Oh, big deal.
And then Aryan Yudha says, insane fight, 2 knockdowns, but Ramirez was just not active enough, whereas Espinosa threw close to 1,000 punches.
Where was Espinosa from? Is he Mexican or where's he from?
Yes.
Yeah, he's from Mexico.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Man, that's crazy. We weren't talking about that fight at all. It turned out to be a great barn burner.
Yeah. Oh,
unbelievable.
And another super chat coming in from Knowledge is Power, which is much better than the name of the last person with the chat. It says Teo not only has better footwork than Devin, he has power and technical boxing skill to defeat Devin. I don't see Devin winning that fight. Knowledge is Power. Thank you very much for the love on the super chat there.
Yeah.
Talking about the
Yeah,
Teo.
I feel like Teo is probably still the best guy at one until that's the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, and also don't forget, hit us up on the ProBox TV app as well to get all the live fights, that great Wednesday night fight
Download
series.
the app. It's free.
It's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
It's Christmas.
And you get all these great shows from these 3 as well.
It's free all year round, not just Christmas, George. It's free.
But it's Christmas now. Get it now.
Yes.
Listen, what is everyone doing Wednesday night?
Wednesday
what
night
they're doing?
fights. Jokumbayev, Mimoun. Tune in. ProBox
Thank you.
TV.
ProBox TV. Chris and Paulie calling the fights. You guys have another great card. Listen, I don't even need to know who's fighting, Chris. I don't need to know who's fighting. I know there's going to be at least 1 or 2 great fights on that card, if not more.
We're gonna have at least 2 main events, maybe 3. So you definitely should be. I say it every show. What are you doing on Wednesday night?
Yep.
You're watching us. There's no reason not to.
Hang out with us. You hang out with us here on the super chat, hang on these chats. Oh, yeah, hang out with us on Wednesday night fights every 2
Bring your
Wednesdays.
friends too. Have a party. Invite people over. Watch the
I'm
fights.
telling you, anybody who's already tuned in knows what we're talking about. Always worth it.
And I got one last super chat from Charles Indig, $20. Paulie, he says, there's a lot of comparison between Devin Haney and Floyd Mayweather. Is that too soon?
I think too soon because Floyd had a lot of different looks. Although I like the different looks Haney was given tonight. I was starting to see it. First time I will tell you that it's not ridiculous to me, at least. I mean, but Floyd is so high level. I mean, there's a lot of people, they want to be compared to Floyd. Floyd's the best. I mean, Floyd's the very, very best. Top of the mountaintop. But at least tonight, I saw a lot of different things from Haney that I didn't know he had, and I've started to see them. Even last night with Lomachenko, he came forward, and he was, box well going forward. Tonight, these different subtle looks, this little subtle things he does, really starting to sort of just watch him box, and especially somebody through my eyesight where I see boxing through a different lens and through a bit of a deeper cerebral level. I'm really starting to really appreciate watching this kid box.
Chris, what about that?
I actually think that Devin is taking the Benjamin Button approach to Floyd Mayweather. I think he's actually going to be better as he gets heavier and bigger. Whereas Floyd changed, like you said, Champ. There was a lot of alliterations of Floyd's style, right? Mm-hmm. In the beginning, he was a puncher and he was physically strong. He knocked guys out. He was able to walk guys down, beat them up with left hooks. And then as he got heavier, he became much more of a boxer. I think Devin is going the opposite way. I think Devin is going to be physical as he moves up because I think Devin's actually a physically bigger guy than Floyd. So I think as he goes up in these weight classes, I think he's actually going to be stronger. I don't see Devin ever as a knockout puncher like the way Floyd was early on, but I do think that he's going to have an opposite career arc than Floyd. And I do think we're going to see Devin at 40 and 47 and potentially even 54.
That's high praise. That is high praise.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I've had high praise for Devin for a long time.
I think-
Like you said, Champ, he's shown something different tonight.
Yeah, but the thing is, 140 is very, very difficult weight class. 147, I think he's going to be weaker at 147. I think he's going to need his boxing 147. I think 140 is his peak weight, but I don't think he can achieve the undisputed title at such a difficult weight class. I don't know if any of these guys will become undisputed. That's how difficult the weight class is. But I think this is his best weight. I think he can.
We will see. We will see.
It's a tough weight class, dude. Damn, it's a tough weight class.
Well,
They don't
what a
even fight
night.
each other. Let's hope they fight
Tonight,
each other first.
tonight, the sky's the limit, man.
Yeah. But we were saying the same thing with Teo when he beat Josh Taylor. We were the same thing with Rafael Matias when he's throwing a million.
Listen, everyone, go back and watch what we talk about. We do this over and over and over again. We talk about these on our shows. Don't come just to the live chats. Come to us every single day. We talk
Every
about all these
day.
topics all the time.
All the
So
time.
And guys,
we're not gonna
I'm
go into it
sorry.
now.
We got one last super chat from Joshua Bits, and I'm sorry because it seems like we skipped his super chat. He said, "You skipped my super chat, so I'm sending it again. Thank you."
No way.
Hey
Sorry, bro.
guys, who has the better chance at unifying the 140-pound division? We've talked about this. Garcia, Teo, Haney, or Matias? Chris?
We talked about this on our show and a couple weeks ago, but I mean, I think Champ, Paulie, and I are in the same agreement that Teofimo is probably the best guy in the division. But I honestly think that Haney's probably going to be the guy. If it was anyone to unify the titles, I think it would be Haney.
I got Teo. If anybody can unify them, it's Teo. Otherwise, none of them. I think the weight class is very difficult. Ryan Garcia doesn't even belong in the conversation, so don't ever mention him again in that conversation. But Teo Lopez for me is the only guy. But I to tell you the truth, I don't see the 140-pound weight class getting unified. These guys it's going to be difficult to make them fight each other, and also I think they just knock each other off constantly. If they fight each other, I don't think one can just rise to the top. It's that good of a weight class. But it would be fun to watch it. Like Chris Farley said in Billy Madison, you can imagine what it'd be like, though.
It took a long time. You finally got a movie reference in there. And guess what, everyone out there? I'm going to be the first one to mention Conor McGregor. Paulie went through like an hour and a half, no mentions of Conor McGregor. So there you go. George D. Metellus, thank you. Chris Algieri, thank you. Paulie Malignaggi, thank you. And Devin Haney, thank you for that supreme performance that you put on tonight. George, party words.
And I'm gonna go watch Rabesi, Ramirez, and Espinosa. I gotta find the YouTube.
Man.
Because obviously it was a good fight.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, what a night. All right, listen, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. Live app, these big fight recaps, we need to keep doing this. Download the app. You know where to get apps. You know how to download apps.
It's free.
Free.
It's free.
It's always free. It's always free. You've got live boxing, you've got live chats, you've got talk shows. You got Chris and Paulie staying up till like 1:30 in the morning talking boxing. We're going to keep doing this. ProBox TV is your boxing channel.